This is the story of the timekeeper of EvenFall. The village of EvenFall nestled in a valley where the sun always seemed to linger a little longer. Time itself felt different here, a bit sluggish, a bit more forgiving. For 17-year-old Elara, it was just home. But EvenFall was about to reveal secrets she never imagined. It started with the ivy-covered ruins at the edge of town. While exploring them, seeking a quiet place to sketch, Elara discovered a narrow, almost hidden alley. At the end, squeezed between the crumbling stone, was a shop. Not just any shop, but a clockmaker's, its windows dusty and filled with intricate mechanisms, some whirring, some still. A sign above the door, barely legible, read, Silas's timepieces. Inside, the air hummed with the ticking of countless clocks. Tall grandfather clocks stood like silent sentinels, smaller cuckoo clocks chirped at irregular intervals, and pocket watches lay scattered like fallen stars. Behind a workbench cluttered with gears and springs, sat Silas. He was a man of indeterminate age, his face etched with lines that could belong to someone ancient or someone merely weary. His eyes, however, were bright and unsettlingly youthful. "Welcome, child," he said, his voice surprisingly strong. "I haven't had a visitor in a long time." Elara, drawn in by an inexplicable force, spent hours in the shop. Silas told her stories of clocks that sang operas, clocks that predicted the weather, clocks that were utterly useless but beautiful nonetheless. Then, her fingers brushed against an unfinished clock, a strange contraption of copper and glass. As she touched it, the world around her dissolved. She wasn't in Silas's shop anymore. She was standing in the village square, years ago. A bustling market was in full swing, the air thick with the scent of bread and laughter. Then, a shadow fell. A fire, swift and merciless, erupted from the bakery, consuming everything in its path. She saw faces contorted in fear, heard screams that echoed in the air. Just as quickly, the vision vanished, leaving her breathless and disoriented back in the clock shop. Silas, his face pale, looked at her with something akin to fear. You saw it, didn't you?" That was the first of many glimpses. Each touch of a clock, each careless brush against a gear, transported Elara to a moment in EvenFall's past. She saw a young couple parting ways forever, witnessed a secret meeting between the town's mayor and a shadowy figure, and relived the tragic drowning of a young boy in the river. EvenFall, she realized, was a town built on secrets and sorrows, all meticulously recorded by Silas's clocks. "They're not just telling time, are they?" she asked Silas one evening, the pieces finally clicking into place. "They're holding it, holding the memories." Silas confirmed her suspicions. The clocks weren't just timepieces, they were vessels, each containing a carefully captured memory. He explained that he had been young, arrogant, and foolish when the fire ravaged EvenFall all those years ago. He had been working on an experimental device to amplify the town's natural temporal distortion, believing he could make EvenFall a place of perpetual peace. Instead, he created a conduit for volatile emotions, resulting in the devastating fire that claimed his parents and his childhood sweetheart. He had spent the last 60 years, trapped in his shop, trying to perfect a clock that could rewrite that fateful day. A clock that could save his loved ones and erase his mistake. But time has a cost, Elara realized, remembering the fleeting, almost ghost-like nature of her experiences. Every time you try to change something, you risk unraveling everything. Silas admitted that he was aware of the potential consequences: the unraveling of EvenFall's history, the alteration of present-day reality, the unknown. But the pain of his past, of his unspeakable loss, was a weight he could no longer bear. Elara was faced with an impossible choice. On one hand, she felt a deep empathy for Silas and his lifelong pain. She wanted to help him, to give him the peace he so desperately craved. On the other hand, she understood the sanctity of time, the delicate balance that held everything together. Meddling with the past could have catastrophic consequences, not just for EvenFall, but for her own life. And then there was Liam. A boy she had met just weeks ago, drawn to him by his kind eyes and quick wit. She found out she would never have met him, were it not for the actions of one of the figures she saw in one of the clocks, decades ago. She sat with Silas that night, the unfinished clock glowing faintly in the dim light. They talked for hours, arguing, pleading, and finally, understanding. Elara showed Silas sketches of Liam, explaining everything. In the end, Elara made her decision. She wouldn't help Silas rewrite the past. Instead, she helped him understand it. They worked together not to alter the timeline, but to release the trapped memories, to set them free from their gilded cages. They designed new movements, delicate and precise, which allowed the clocks to unwind, the memories to fade back into the fabric of time. As the last clock sputtered and died, Silas looked at Elara, a genuine smile gracing his face for the first time in decades. The youthful glint in his eyes had faded, replaced by a quiet acceptance. "Thank you, Elara," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "You've given me something I never thought possible, peace." Silas finally began to age, the years he had cheated finally catching up. He passed away peacefully a few weeks later, leaving the clock shop to Elara. She didn't become a clockmaker, but she kept the shop open, a museum of sorts, a reminder of EvenFall's hidden past and the cost of tampering with time. She often thought about the choices she had made, wondering if she had done the right thing. But then she would remember Liam, and she would know that some things were simply meant to be, even the bitterest among them. Time, she realized, wasn't something to be controlled or rewritten, but something to be cherished, a precious gift that, even in EvenFall, flowed ever forward. And Elara, bound by the memory of Silas's sacrifice, understood that it was her duty to let